December 1st, 1948. A man checks into a hotel in Adelaide, Australia. He's well-dressed, polite, and unremarkable. The next morning, he's found dead on Somerton Beach, leaning against a seawall, legs crossed, cigarette tucked behind his ear. No signs of struggle. No obvious cause of death. The police searched his pockets. No wallet, no ID, no money. Just a train ticket, some gum, and a scrap of paper with 2 words printed on it. Tamám Shud. It's Persian. It means ended or finished, and that's when things get weird. Because over the next several years, investigators would discover a hidden code sewn into his clothes. A mysterious phone number connected to a woman who claimed not to know him, and a book of poetry with a cryptic message scrawled inside. They'd bring in code breakers, forensic experts, and intelligence agencies. They'd chase down hundreds of leads. Every theory collapsed. Every clue led nowhere. And eventually, after decades of dead ends and unanswered questions, the case just stopped. It didn't get solved. It didn't get closed. History just quietly gave up on it. This is the story of the Somerton Man, also known as the Tamám Shud case, one of the most baffling unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. A case so strange, so full of bizarre twists that even modern technology struggled to crack it. So who was this man? What was he doing on that beach? And why couldn't anyone figure it out? Let's dive in. It's early morning on December 1st, 1948. A couple is walking along Somerton Beach in Adelaide when they spot a man lying against the seawall. At first, they don't think much of it. Maybe he's sleeping. Maybe he's drunk. It's not uncommon to see someone passed out on the beach after a night of drinking. He's dead. The man is in his 40s, physically fit and well-groomed. He's wearing a white shirt, a brown knit pullover, and a gray and brown double-breasted coat. His shoes are polished. But here's the weird part. Every single label has been cut out of his clothing. The tags on his shirt, his pants, his coat, all removed. Just a train ticket from Adelaide to Henley Beach, a pack of chewing gum, some matches, and a bus ticket. They check missing persons reports. They show his picture to local businesses, hotels, and taxi drivers. No one recognizes him. An autopsy is performed. The pathologist finds that the man's stomach is full of blood. His spleen is enlarged. His liver is congested. All signs of poisoning. But here's the kicker: they can't identify the poison. Whatever killed him wasn't in their database. It was something unusual, something they'd never seen before. The coroner's conclusion? Death by poisoning, cause unknown. So now the police have a dead man with no identity, no belongings, and no clear cause of death, and they're completely stumped. The man is buried in a cemetery with a headstone that reads simply, "Here lies the unknown man, who was found at Somerton Beach." But then, in April 1949, something happens. He says a local man found a suitcase at Adelaide railway station around the time of the death. The suitcase had been left in a luggage locker, unclaimed, and the man who found it never thought to report it until now. The police retrieve the suitcase, and when they open it, they find clothing shirts, pants, a dressing gown, and just like the clothes the dead man was wearing, every single label has been cut out. But there's more. Inside the suitcase, investigators find a stenciling kit, a screwdriver, a pair of scissors, and some thread. The kind of items someone might use to disguise their identity, maybe. and then they find something that changes everything. Tucked into a secret pocket, sewn into the lining of the suitcase, is a scrap of paper. It's torn from a book, and on it, printed in fancy script, are those same 2 words, Tamám Shud. The police realize this is a huge lead. If they can find the book this page was torn from, they might be able to trace it back to the man. They ask anyone in Adelaide who owns a copy of the book to come forward. And sure enough, someone does, and says he found a copy of the Rubáiyát of Omar Khayyam, a collection of Persian poetry, in the back seat of his car around the time of the death. He'd left his car unlocked near Somerton Beach that night. Someone must have tossed it in there. The police examined the book, the exact piece that was found in the dead man's pocket. But that's not all. Someone had written 5 lines of letters in pencil that seemed completely random. Ara babd mliaoi twat panet mliiboiaqc it misemst gab. A telephone number appeared beneath the lines of letters. It was registered to a woman named Jessica Thompson, although later information hinted that this might not have been her actual name. Her residence was situated only a short distance, just a few hundred yards from Somerton Beach. However, she maintained her stance, stating that she did not recognize him. She conceded that she once had a copy of the Rubáiyát, which she had handed over to a man by the name of Alfred Boxall during the Second World War. However, Boxall was still living and in possession of his own copy, leaving the situation unexplained. Seeking further details, but she declined to assist, appearing to be very scared. She took her secrets with her when she died in 2007, never revealing the truth. They explored every possible method of decryption they could think of, but their efforts were fruitless. Perhaps using the initial letters of a sentence or a poem. Others speculated it was a book-based cipher, where each character corresponded to a word from a separate text. A few even suggested it was a one-time pad, an encryption method that is impossible to crack, often employed by spies. Regardless of their attempts, the code remained a mystery. Even today, the meaning continues to elude everyone. Numerous explanations have surfaced regarding the identity of the Somerton Man and the events that led to his death. This is likely the most widely accepted theory. The late 1940s marked the beginning of the Cold War. Covert operations were widespread. The Somerton Man displayed several characteristics of a clandestine agent, including the absence of identification, coded messages, and suspicious actions. Others suspect he was an agent working for Britain or the United States who suffered a similar fate. The unidentified poison, the cryptic code, and the mysterious woman all seem to fit the profile. Nevertheless, there is a lack of concrete evidence. No agency has ever acknowledged him, and no declassified documents make mention of him. Perhaps she had rejected him, leading him to end his own life. The poetry book, the romantic poems, and the tragic setting all suggest the final actions of a man with a broken heart. However, the post-mortem examination did not indicate suicide. Furthermore, if he had intended to die, why would he have gone to the effort of taking off all the labels from his clothes? There is a notion that he engaged in smuggling or was perhaps embroiled in some unlawful scheme that took a disastrous turn. The hidden compartment within the luggage, the fabricated persona, the unexplained demise, all of these elements might suggest an individual attempting to remain undetected. However, as before, there exists no concrete evidence to substantiate this. For decades, the case went cold. The police moved on. The public forgot, and the Somerton Man remained unknown. But in recent years, advances in DNA technology brought new hope. In 2021, Australian researchers exhumed the Somerton Man's body and extracted DNA samples. They used genetic genealogy, the same technique that caught the Golden State Killer, to try to identify him. and in 2022 they announced a breakthrough. They believed they'd found a match. The man's name was Charles Webb, an electrical engineer from Melbourne. But here's the problem. The evidence wasn't conclusive. Some researchers disputed the findings. Webb's family members didn't recognize the reconstruction of the Somerton man's face, and no definitive proof was ever provided. So even with modern science, the case remains murky. So why did history quietly give up on this case? Because at a certain point there were just too many dead ends. Too many questions with no answers. Too many clues that led nowhere. The code, unsolved. The woman took her secrets to the grave. The poison, never identified. The man's identity, still disputed. And eventually people just stopped trying. The case became a footnote in true crime history. A fascinating mystery, sure, but one that would probably never be solved. And maybe that's okay. Because sometimes not every mystery gets a neat resolution. Sometimes the truth is just lost. The Somerton Man case is a reminder that history isn't always tidy. There are gaps, missing pieces, stories that never get finished. Maybe he was a spy. Maybe he was a heartbroken lover. Maybe he was just a man in the wrong place at the wrong time. We may never know. But what we do know is this. For over 70 years, this case has captivated people. It's inspired books, documentaries, podcasts, and endless debates. And in a way, that's its own kind of legacy. The Somerton Man may never have a name, but his story, that'll live forever. So what do you think happened? Was he a spy? A lover? Something else entirely? Drop your theories in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's strangest cold cases, smash that subscribe button. There's a lot more mystery where this came from. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.